the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
And now, the end is near.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in once again to the Six Screens Live on Saturday night. Well, we've been doing this now for 19 years, going on 20. We never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. And we have our premiere program for tonight. And of course, that program is Watchtower Insider Barbara Anderson Tells All. And we always love to listen to Barbara. Now, she has a very special guest tonight, Richard Thrift, and he's a filmmaker, and he's going to talk to us tonight about how he was involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses and how it really kind of ran his life, so to speak, when he was a young man, and evidently his family was in it as well. So he's got a real story to tell, and we're so glad that Richard could come on. So first of all, let's bring Barbara on right now. Say hello to her. Hello, Barb.
Hello, Rick. Nice to be here.
Well, it's always good to have you here with us. Boy, I'll tell you, the program got a lot of promotion. I took that banner that Richard made, I put it all over Facebook, and I got other people now sharing it as well. So we're going to have a big audience tonight, Barbara. Looking forward to it.
Well, I am too. And, you said Barbara Anderson tells all. No, tonight, Richard Thrift is going to tell all. It's a fascinating story.
I see the notes you sent me. I'm looking forward to it so much. So a lot of other people are as well. So let's bring Richard on right now. And I'm going to step out of here and let you guys go at it. But I'm here if you need me.
Okay. Howdy, Richard.
Hi, Barbara. How you doing?
I'm doing just great. I got to tell everybody that you're an Englishman. So,
do I need subtitles?
Well, it's a very pleasant accent, I have to say. I think people who are listening can identify with what I'm going to say next, and I know you can. When we were witnesses and we were meeting new people, new witnesses, and maybe we were traveling and we went to conventions, or we were guests at people's homes, one of the first things that we wanted to know was a sentence that we all are familiar with. And we said, how did you find the truth? Isn't that true?
That's true, yeah.
Yes. And you know what we say now, don't you? Since we're not affiliated with the truth, we say, how did you leave the truth?
Right. Yeah. How did you escape? Yeah.
How did you escape? Well, we have many ways to word that, and yours is a fascinating story. In fact, I'm finding that everybody who I'm meeting these days or write me, I go further than just hear their little story. I want to hear the whole story. And that's what I did with you, right? And
yes.
Yeah. Oh, fascinated, just absolutely. And so isn't it true that the scene of this world is really changing in more ways than just as far as the world, but it's changing in the religion we were part of?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely changing. And the world has changed in the last 20 years. And the Watchtower has, 20 years ago, they were discouraging internet use, and now they've got jw.org and all the other things going on. So, yeah, the religion has changed dramatically.
It's almost not like the same one that
I've got a friend, and we often talk about our witness past, and sometimes we say to each other, who are these people? Because we don't know them anymore,
No, we don't have much in common with the witnesses. So if you just meet one nowadays, they're not as excited about the they're being witnesses. There isn't that glow with the witnesses today. It's almost like when they're sitting at their cart, it's a chore. Everything's a chore.
Yeah, when I was in the UK last time and I saw a cart witness, she was sitting actually. I've got to tell you this because it's a great name of a street. It's in city centre of Leicester and it's called Every Street. So she was sitting on every street in Leicester.
Oh.
But she looked bored and she was just sitting down underneath a tree, keeping shade on. And yeah, that was it. That was the extent of the witnessing that they were doing. And I don't even know if you can class that as witnessing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably the reason why they gave up counting time, because they don't talk. So
that, and I think they don't want to be caught up in child labor laws, but that's a whole different thing.
Good point.
You know, I'm thinking that they don't want to say, oh, this child's only 8-10 years of age, and they've gone and put 40 hours in. You know, that's
yeah, that's a big issue in other countries other than the U.S. It is a big deal. I know it is in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Over the witnesses, they're denying that they ever had children work, and so yeah, and we know that's not true. Children. They were very involved, but we made them involved. I know we did with our son. And so they're not quite telling the truth in that matter. And it's not turning out as well for them because of them not telling the truth in Australia. So but that's for another chat. But right now, we're going to talk about you as a kid. And when you were, before you were on the scene, tell us about your parents.
Okay, so I'll just start by saying really that I'm not really special in particular, but I just really hope that as we go through this, the story resonates with people and people do find some comfort and healing through this, because you know there's a lot. So my history starts.
Always remember. Everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah.
And to others, your story is interesting. And I know it is because it's fascinating to me. And it's different than the other stories I heard. So are we here just to tell stories? No. You nailed it there when you said why you were doing this.
So my dad was a junior speedway racer in the UK. For those not familiar with speedway racing, it's a sport done with motorbikes and normally in teams in Europe. So he was a rider for Leicester, the city where he was living. And my mum was a supporter of an opposing team called Coventry, which was the next door city. And so that's how they met. They met in the speedway world at the racetracks and fell in love. During that time, my dad's mother was having the witnesses over a lot. So my dad was being exposed, even though he was racing bikes and doing secular things, he was exposed via my grandmother to the witnesses because she was having studies with them, though she never joined herself at any point, but she had a great love for them. Yeah.
Well, when was your mother baptized?
Wow. So let's go to this whole history. So it goes, my dad got a job opportunity in Wales. Mum and dad had got married, and my dad stopped racing because there wasn't a local track to him. He met a man at work who would discuss the Bible and open the door for my dad to have the witnesses start studying. My parents converted in Bridgend in South Wales, which is where I was born in 1976. My mum was baptized as she was pregnant with me. So I always tell people I got baptized before I was even born. So, you know, I was not just a born in, I was a baptized in. And
that's different.
That is different, right? So, yeah. So my mum, apparently it was noticeable as well. I was noticeable. So there you go. So I say that counts. And my parents eventually moved back to Leicester, where my dad's family was at the time as well. So, yeah.
So, were they zealous witnesses?
My dad was a zealous witness. My mum was a half-hearted witness. To be, she says it now. She's like, yeah, but my dad was definitely a full-on witness. He believed it, and he wanted me to go to Bethel. And it was tough. It was tough growing up in that environment, to be honest, because being a Jehovah's Witness at school was tough, even in what we call elementary. You call it elementary school, because I was a Welshman. So this is actually funny. My accent here is kind of like because of years of bullying. When I was a kid, I actually have a very different accent. It's a Welsh accent. So if you know Tom Jones, it's kind of closer to that. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It's attractive accent too. Americans just love anywhere in the UK, that accent.
That's great. So yeah, I had different accent, I had different expressions, and so that was something that already made me stand out. Then I'm at school, and then they find out I'm a Jehovah's Witness. And something I really want to share actually is that in elementary school, I'll just use elementary because it's easier for a lot of the audience. I got bullied by teachers by being made a public spectacle of calling you out of activities, and there was snide comments sometimes made, and then when your peers realized that you belonged to a religion, and when they found out that their parents hated that religion, you became hated in school as well. And I remember one time being called out of a morning assembly, and it felt like Nazi Germany and being Jewish, because I remember hearing a parent, and I was a kid, I was like 5-6 years of age, and I remember a parent in the assembly saying to me, "I hate you."
Oh my goodness.
So, I was a kid. I hadn't done anything to them. They just heard that I was a Jehovah's Witness in that moment and then told me that they hated me. And I was like, wow. But I can also remember because right from birth, I was a Jehovah's Witness. And my mind automatically went, well, it's because of Jehovah I'm being hated. So I drew strength or resilience or whatever from that ideal at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of us who were young people in the organization at school didn't have a easy life. Yeah.
No, we didn't.
But I converted, and so I thought that the persecution was what was expected. So I did the opposite. I loved it. I said, "Oh boy!" So when they were cruel to me, I go, "Oh, I got the truth," But those who were raised in it, it got old, didn't it? It got old.
It did. And so, when we're getting excluded from every holy day that's imaginable, from whether it be Christmas celebrations, Easter, that we even had some Jewish people there, and we weren't allowed to even share with them in their faith or whatever. So it was, very tough, because you felt very isolated. And then we had a regular pioneer who would come on assembly days and would read to us from my book of Bible stories. So, like, instead of us attending assembly in primary school, so that's what we did then. We had that drummed into us. But going back to your point, because I got ADHD, so I'll talk about that stuff. So my dad's aspirations for me were that he wanted me to go to Bethel. And as an unbaptized publisher, I was a very good one, and I was a very good theocratic ministry school student. And the elders told me that I would be a ministerial servant by the time I was 18, because I was so active. I'd go out with the pioneers, even midweek, to their Bible studies, and sometimes knocking on doors with them in the afternoons and evenings once I got home from school. So there wasn't a moment where I was not involved. I would also be, I'd also do the theocratic ministry school talk for that week, just in case someone never showed up. And if they didn't, yeah, that was the Zeal I was, you know.
Well, you have a lot of gold stars next to your name as a witness, right? Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah, they erased them, but yeah.
The thing is, you were very excited about it, and by going to Bethel, you were excited about being a witness because you participated everything you could. But going to Bethel, were you really happy about what your father was planning for you?
No, it was like, I could say at the time I loved Jehovah, but I didn't love the idea of going to Bethel. You know, I mean, I would have enjoyed going for a visit. It would have been interesting to see how the books were published or printed and meeting some of the people there, I guess. But it wasn't like oh, that's my life. That's where I want it to be. It wasn't something I aspired to.
Did you visit Mill Hill?
Actually, no, we never did.
I visited Mill Hill. You're a native UK, and you didn't visit.
I actually, I had a friend.
Branch, everybody. That was the branch.
Yeah, my friend, one of my friends did visit, and she eventually left. And when she came out, she told me what had happened. She'd gone twice to the Mill Hill one down in London, and she said that she went on one tour, and the tour guide took her down this one corridor, took this group down this corridor, and they saw out the back all these luxurious cars.
What did they see?
She saw all these luxurious, high, expensive cars parked out the back.
Oh, I see.
In the parking lot.
Okay.
And so she was like, "Who are they?" And they go, "Oh, that's Watchtower staff. You know, that's that." And then she went again, and they directed away from that corridor for that. And she said, "Oh, why don't we go down there?" And they went, "Oh, that's for Watchtower staff only." So this person who took them on that guided tour was probably on the way out the door and trying to have people awakened to see where your money's really going. You know, these nice cars that everyone's driving and luxurious lifestyle that, you know, no one else is getting. Yeah.
Well, I'll be. Never heard of that.
Yeah.
We didn't in Brooklyn. We didn't have luxurious cars. Now the society had a fleet of cars. They were the latest. They were provided by it was a dealer in Michigan who provided the very nice, really nice cars.
I got you. I understand. Yeah.
So let's move on because we could get in trouble on this subject. But so were the elders encouraging?
Well, apart from the elders, were they encouraging?
Your dad was encouraging. He wanted you to go to Bethel, but what about?
Yeah, the elders would often talk to me more about being like a ministerial servant and growing to become someone who would become an elder. They really wanted me to basically become a full-time pioneer. The Bethel with them wasn't so much on the cards. I'm wondering if now they're thinking probably needed more people to become elders or something. But yeah, they were definitely encouraging me though to do the whole pioneering route and becoming ministerial servant, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have any questions, or did you accept the whole package when you were young?
Growing up, I obviously up until a certain point, I guess it's like until you eat the food, it's almost like an Eve moment, you know, your eyes open. And you start to ask questions. You know, you read the book of Revelation. We did that Revelation Grand Climax books twice, And each time I kept reading how they kept putting the great crowd in the wrong place. You know, they kept saying that the great crowd was on earth. And in the book of Revelation, it literally says they were in heaven and I saw them, you know, and it was like there was a great crowd. And so I was like, well, why don't we have the heavenly hope? You know, because the Revelation show that great crowd are in heaven. So why are we only having the earthly hope? And then why can't we have a personal relationship with Jesus? Why do we have to go through the governing body? Why do they have this anointed class? How come they get to have this special relationship? Whereas the Bible was talking about there's only one mediator. And then the other one that always upset me was, why are we not assured of anything? Or why is everything a big fat maybe? And, you know, only if you work hard enough and publish enough Watchtowers, Awakes, and get enough Bible studies and maybe some converts too. And so, and then as I got older, I also started asking questions like, well, energy doesn't die. We're made of energy. Where do we go? And these are the questions which you don't find the answers to in the Watchtower. The only answer they will ever give you is that's an apostate thought.
Well, now your dad, how did he react when you were asking questions?
Okay, my dad, I remember the first time my dad noticed that I was really struggling, and his reaction was to beat the living snot out of me. Yeah, that was his reaction. Instead of to sit down and go, these are great questions, let's see what the Bible says, let's have a look at publications and see what they've written about it. Instead of him to sit down and go, let me get back to you on this, his idea was he would just beat me up for Jehovah. You know, that was yeah.
You know, that's common. It's too common in the organization. In fact, I was reading a bit of a book on the subject of religion and children, raising children. It was nothing to do, I mean, there was mention of Jehovah's Witnesses in the book, but the book was not primarily about that, but that religion. Mm-hmm. But it did say that Christians are known for beating their children.
I think it's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
I think in the witnesses, it's a rite of passage. I do not know anyone of my generation that did not get hit in the Kingdom Hall. You know, you could, something could happen that was amusing to a 12-year-old kid, and you'd get beaten for it, you'd get smacked for it, or the child would cry because the kid's hungry, you know, it's a little baby, and yet the reaction of the mother, instead of it to feed, is to take it into the passageway and beat it, which is just mind-blowing. It's almost like it's a rite of passage. It's something you have to do to prove you're a good Jehovah's Witness.
I agree, because we did that. We spanked our kid.
Yeah.
And half of the congregation, they didn't like it, and the other half thought we ought to beat him more. You know, you can't please anybody, and I'm not saying that excludes me from being opinionated about this subject too. If you approve of spanking a child, then you want other people to spank theirs when they're naughty too. So it just goes on and on and on, you know.
Well, that's it. Abusers join with abusers, don't they? I'm sorry to say, you know, but that's kind of like how it is. It's just like if drunk people get drunk with drunk people, you know. So it's that whole birds of a feather thing.
Yeah.
So justification for their own actions, and then them using what was the scripture that they always used was spare the rod, spoil the child. You know,
the basic of that.
That was the absolute basic.
That's right. And if you didn't and they misbehaved, the elders would talk to you.
Right. I remember, I actually can remember going off to school, and I had cauliflower ears, like I'd been playing rugby with the grown-ups. Like I'd been going in a ring with Tyson. I had a black eye, cauliflower ears and everything. And we had the CPS round, and I just lied to them and says, I was having a boxing match with somebody outside. I didn't even blame my dad, even though it was him, you know.
Oh my goodness.
And then the witnesses who did know that my dad had beat me up, turned around and says, "Oh, you're a glutton for punishment, huh, Rich?" You know, so you can't doubt Jehovah or Jehovah's Witnesses, because I say you can doubt Jehovah. I don't, because you know that's the thing, but you can't doubt Jehovah's Witnesses because the response was you're going to get beaten up. So that's how it was. I hope, you know, in my family anyway. Sadly.
Well, some were whipped. Others, you know,
I've been whipped, punched, had my head smacked against the stairs before.
Was your father raised like that, basically?
Not as strict. Not like my grandfather. He was not a religious. Okay, he was a spiritual man. If I dare say anything, he was a spirit medium actually himself. So he didn't beat my dad like that.
No. In my family, my family were from Europe, and so of course in that generation, they whipped their kids. You know? And so when you grow up in an environment like that, and of course I was a very good kid, and so I never got whipped. If you believe that, you know, but they had cat and nine tails. That was have you ever heard of that? No? Cat and nine tails. That was
I have heard of a cat and nine tails. And
it was a handle, and it was a belt that they cut up with strips, and they hooked it on. Well, just the little ending of it on my leg would cause it to swell up. But I never got anything worse than that. My mother was a good woman. She just like that, and I got in trouble only because of the one thing that I've always gotten in trouble with. I happen to talk about things. I talk.
Well, that's it. It was, you know, like if your dad as well is asking you a question, like, are you doubting, or are you struggling with, you know, everything? And then you say, yeah, I am struggling. I am having these doubts. You know, I'm not sure that the Jehovah's Witnesses are right. And then his only response is to call me an apostate and beat me up. That doesn't encourage me to be able to say anything to him after that. I was like, well, now I've just got to keep quiet, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and in fact, actually, that caused me. So before I left, I actually left the family home because I just really couldn't take that anymore. You know, I was 16, and I was just like, I just got to get out.
You left home at 16?
Yeah, I left home at 16, and I was just like couch surfing on friends' couches. I managed to find a non-JW family friend who just allowed me to stay for a while with them. And at that time, actually, I started attending and going to the local congregation. But because I'd left the family home, my dad suddenly started reporting to everyone that I was no longer a Jehovah's Witness, which made me... So at the time, you got to think, I was physically out, mentally in. And so, yeah, so I was... But I also thought, well, okay, if my dad's saying I'm no longer one, I'm out. So I just stopped going. I just like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. Yeah.
So, in effect, you lost everybody.
I lost everybody. I did. It was kind of crazy because whilst I was in that period, I'd got called up for an apostasy hearing, which I refused to go to because this is like I was like 16 and a half or 17 at this point, and the evidence of my apostasy. Sorry, I'm gonna laugh. Was eating a burger near the clock tower in the city centre of Leicester, while the local churches evangelised there, and I was spotted by the congregational overseer's son, who was also an elder, and his wife. So I was sitting there eating a burger. Preachers are over there. I didn't care what they were saying. I wasn't listening or paying attention. But because I was sitting there and hadn't like taken a stand for Jehovah, I guess, and gone and walked off somewhere else. Yeah. So apparently eating a burger near the preachers makes you an apostate. That's what it was in their mind. But of course I refused. I said, well, Dad, if you're telling me that You're telling everyone that
Who saw you do that?
it was the congregational overseer's son. Yeah, so the congregation where I went to, the top elder there, his son saw me sitting there eating a burger.
Well,
I was still laughing because it's like that's all I was doing. And when I saw him, I actually raised my hand and he turned his back and kept walking. And I was like, okay, all right,
oh my goodness.
yeah.
So they complain about young people leaving the organization, right? I mean, even that's
yeah. But you eat a burger in the wrong place, you know. You're an apostate. So that's it. So yeah, that's when I basically. And so when I did turn around and say to my dad, in that yeah, okay, they want me in for an apostasy hearing, but you're telling everyone I'm not a witness, so they have no power over me like that anymore. So my dad says, oh, so you're definitely not a Jehovah's Witness. And I was like, okay. Mentally, I was like, but you were telling everyone I wasn't. So then but then at that moment, that's when I lost everyone that I knew and everything, you know. I remember my dad saying to me that your mother and I have mourned your passing. Yeah, that's what I got told. And so without having non-JW network, because you're not encouraged to have one before you leave, and without so had no real friends or network outside of the JWs, so I basically became homeless because it was also awkward at that friend's house, and so yeah, it was a struggle, but I did get back on my feet, and I found that really from through the arts, really, like going to, yeah.
Well, you know, it is sad. It's very sad when you analyze it. What our affiliation with the witnesses was supposed to be with an organization full of love, and always talked about love, and yet the reaction towards those who leave it is, how would you put it?
Well, it's anything but love, you know. And it shocked me because of seeing people who would normally, their eyes would light up and be happy to see me. They just literally wouldn't look at me, or would turn the other way, or frown their face, and you know. And then it was just, I remember reading, I wish I could remember what it was. It was an apostate literature many moons ago, and somebody described leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses like being the sole survivor of a plane crash but still seeing everyone alive. You know, it was like that. It's like you can't connect with them, you can't do anything with them, but you can see them all the time, you know. And it was yeah,
that's right. Well, now as I said, the scene of this world is changing because the witnesses are getting known for this.
They might let me back in now, actually, with this little facial hair.
Yeah.
I'll grow it out for them.
Well, I told you, the scene of the world is changing. Who would have thought even last year about the beard thing, right? And it would be approved, and a governing body member is sprouting one.
They've got to give them something to keep people happy, you know.
You know, the people who are running the place, they're not evil, and maybe most of them, I don't know, are real believers. So we can't look at them and categorically say you're bad, right? But by their actions, they do not even exemplify goodness, whether it's religious from a religion or just
it says, the Bible says, by their fruits you will know them, and what they produce isn't good.
Yeah.
You know, is very empty. And I remember when I was first out and exploring, and I'd go off to Christian. Sorry, I'll let you get the call.
Hey, I'm on 6 screens right now. Talk to you later. That was one of those folk who left the witnesses, mind you.
That's good. That's all good. So
another one of those folk. Go ahead.
Apostates. I remember I would go off to the Christian bookshop local to me and sit down with a cup of coffee and chat with everybody. And even hearing that they basically plagiarized a lot of like The Greatest Man Who Ever Lived, you know, that book was even, you know, not most of their work. It wasn't their work, a lot of it. And when you started to do the research, it was a lot to take in. And especially at the time, for a long time, I was still mentally in, but physically out. And even if I didn't believe everything, there was still that hold over me. So there was still a lot of mentality that was attached to the Jehovah's Witnesses, you know. So when certain things were getting exposed, even like 19, 20 years ago, like Rick was doing his program and stuff, it was still, even then, I was like not free. I wasn't free mentally from it. But I was physically out and trying to just make sense of it all. Yeah.
That's a very good subject to discuss. I believe a lot of people who have left the organization haven't really confronted that. You know, they're unhappy, but they haven't confronted just what you said, and that they're physically out, but they're mentally still in. The opposite of the
Because I remember one time I got involved in a couple of churches because, you know, there's a spiritual need, or, you know, that you're looking for something. And I remember going off to one, and the church started saying something doctrinally, and then they said, well, we're not like Jehovah's Witnesses. And they kind of made a derogatory comment, and everyone laughed. And I was like, I turned into, you know, like a hedgehog or something, you know, with all the pine sticking out. I was like, not happy. So then I suddenly realized I was still defensive of the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was still mentally with them. You know, if somebody said something about them that, you know, even if it was funny, I couldn't accept it. I don't know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's a healing process, but the more you're out, the more you associate, the more you read, the more you study, you suddenly go, oh, okay. And you have your aha moments, you know.
Mm-hmm. The psychiatrists have a heyday, don't they, when an ex-witness comes in therapist,
yeah.
So, but overall, I thought the witnesses were great people overall, but that's because I didn't know what went on behind closed doors. The elders knew what went on behind closed doors, but the average witness didn't. And so we thought everything was hunky-dory, and it was everybody was having a wonderful life, and they were the most wonderful people. Well, many of them were wonderful people, and just like it is in the rest of the world. But those writers who put those magazines together, especially, they made us believe something that was out of this world. That's impossible. We're people. And so you have all the same old things, the good and the bad, the divorces and non-divorces, but they tried to make it seem like, no, not in Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
So that's not true.
Yes. So when the explosion of the exposing of the CSA was happening, it blew my mind away, and at the same time I couldn't accept it still, because I was still mentally in but physically out. I just didn't realize how much of myself was still mentally in. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people who leave. We're physically out. We know it's wrong, but there's like 60% of you is still mentally inside there, or 40% is still mentally, and that will monkey around with you for many years, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you hit the nail on many nails on many heads there as you're talking. And the thing is, it isn't easy to get over what we all had. We all carried the same baggage. Some of us, the baggage was heavier than others, but we all carry that same. And that, the witness belief takes over your whole life. It's just not like going to a church and seeing people on Sunday, and
No, it's
but
not.
every caliber of your life.
Yeah, it's because it's the control model that they have. It's not just the, well, okay, you got to come to Kingdom Hall on Sunday, and we're going to study the Watchtower, and we're going to have a talk. It's more than that. It's also, well, but if you don't do this, and then there's a whole list of things that you have to do. You go to 90% of, you go to most churches, and it's like, okay, we have Sunday service. We also have a lot of churches do actually have a Bible study midweek, but that's not compulsory. They don't expect anybody or force anybody to show up, you know, and
or make you feel that they're going to be eventually punished if they don't do everything that you're suggested to do. God's going to get you, and so it's
right. That's it. I mean, and the Jehovah's Witness hell is basically disfellowshipping. We're threatening you with disfellowshipping if you do not believe and obey. Right?
Yeah,
isn't that
right.
then?
Well,
Right?
I have to agree, and everybody who's listening who was active witness, some of those listeners were not as involved for different reasons, but
yeah.
But we have to agree on the majority of this. I'm reading sometimes, I look over to the side, and comments are being made of what you're saying, and so some of these people are agreeing with you. Talking about their dad breaking over their backsides, wood spoons, ping pong paddles, rulers. Dad mocked me about how hard. Over and over again, these statements are being made. So the sad that's what we remember about.
I'm now looking at the comments. Actually, I just saw Aaron Hubbard, and he said, "I was peer pressured into getting baptized. I didn't want to. I was 16." Well, we'll get. What happened for me there was I was going to get baptized. We'll, as we go on, I was going to get baptized, but my dad had got me involved in cycle racing because I had. Okay, so part of you may not know, I've got 5 sisters, but I grew up with 4 of them. So I needed something else. I needed some energy to go somewhere else, and so I started cycle racing, and I was with a team, and it was actually very good. It was a great way of team building. It was a great way of learning a whole bunch of communication skills that was outside of the Watchtower, and just learning that people were good people. In fact, my dad even saw, this is funny, my dad even saw that the witnesses, that the elders sons were bad influences because, yes, I had my first ever cigarette was smoked with the elders' sons. And they went off and reported that they had smoked, and then they tried to get me into trouble. But I said, "Oh, I didn't do it." But they were often the instigators of everything and would get away with everything. So the cycle races, though, I mean, it was very wholesome activity. It was lots of fun, but it prevented my baptism. That and me being involved in a band at school. I wanted to do something creative. And so I got involved with a band at school.
Really?
And, yeah.
Oh, this is now a change in your direction of your life.
Yeah. So whereas I started to basically, instead of worry about what the witnesses were offering me, it was like I was placing arts and things in my life, which is where it leads up to where I am today. So yeah, I wanted to do something creative, do something a lot more entertaining, wholesome, different than where I was at the time. And it was healing, it was helpful. And the witnesses, they don't encourage children, they don't encourage parents to have these extracurricular activities, because that takes away from you being brainwashed. It takes away from you being part of the brain drain. Like you don't have time to go and knock on the doors if you're racing bicycles. You don't have time to go and do XYZ if you're in a band. So because it takes away from their control of you, they don't want you to do it. Anything outside of it's because it's worldly. It's because it's outside of their control, and anything outside of their control is an apostate activity to them. Which is why they only want you to read jw.org. They don't want, that's the only website you should ever visit when you're on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the religion has been known to be like a revolving door. People come in and then they go out, and come in and go out. It takes a few years for some. Some stay for their whole lifetime. But it just depends. Of course, there's the circumstances. Their lives weren't like what you went through, or the circumstances of me. I wasn't whipped, and I wasn't this or that, or mistreated by the witnesses. It was a totally different reason for leaving, but it's happening.
And it's all very valid, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
And
the results are the same, that you get punished for it.
Yeah. It was shocking when you realize that the unbaptized publishers, especially today, who leave are treated exactly the same as those who were baptized and leave. So we were in the same category. And also people who were born in and never got baptized, we're just as valid, because we had all of the experiences at school. We've probably stood up for it in the workplace, in our first jobs and other things like that. And we've endured physical bullying at school. We've endured mental bullying, from adults, children, and everything. And so someone who converts and goes, oh, these are wonderful people, and it's a wonderful experience. Okay, Susan, I'm glad that you Six Screens has helped you wake up. That's cool. So
Susan is making a interesting point there. She
Yeah.
was like you, Rich. She says it. I was physically out, mentally in for 17 years.
Yeah.
So it's programs like Six Screens that helped me to wake up. I appreciate Susan saying that, because I had a criticism just yesterday, and it was not made to my face. It was on my Facebook page. It said, well, in effect, why waste your time talking to ex-witnesses? Why don't you get involved in exposing the Watchtower and what they're doing? And of course, it was
was that the New World Order kind of comment?
Yeah.
I saw it. The thing is with that is there is not enough evidence either way to prove an argument. If you know what I mean, it's like there's not enough substantial evidence that you can turn around and say, well, this is it, this is what they're doing. Whereas you end up putting on tin hats and silver foil hats, and we sit here like conspiracy theorists looking nutty, and anyone who's coming out of the JWs are going to go, we have no idea what's going on here. I can't relate to anything. Whereas these are personal stories about people who have left, and so anyway,
and survived leaving. But some don't, and we have to acknowledge that and feel terrible about it. But it's just the way it is. Somebody wants to know, where in the UK are you?
Whoa, okay. I was in Leicester, in the UK, which is spelled, for those Americans who want to know, it's Leicester, just because it's nice and easy spelled. Exactly how it sounds.
I saw that.
Just like Worcestershire, Worcester. Right,
that's sauce to us.
Yeah. Everyone's like, "What's your sister?" No.
Oh my goodness!
But I was in Leicester for a long time. I was part of the my goodness me, what's the name of the Anstey Heights congregation is one of the congregations I was in over there, and I can't remember the name of the first one right now. The first one's escaped me. We were my parents went to Bridgend in South Wales, so it was part of the Bridgend congregation. Belgrave, thank you. Belgrave was the congregation I was then in Leicester, and we helped build a quick build for Anstey Heights congregation. So yeah,
I bet they sold their Kingdom Hall already.
it was kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know if they have, but yeah, it was.
But that's
We
in a
grew so big in Leicester at one point. It was so 3 congregations formed this 4th one. It was like wow, but then I also realized something else that let me just use the LDS guys for an example. You can go there in Utah and you'll have 400 people in one of their chapels, and the reason the witnesses don't do that is because they like you to be 100 people, because 100 people. If you've got this body of like 7 elders and 1 head, and then you've got the ministerial servants, that's a good percentage of the 100 people, and you can keep them under control.
That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. So it's about control. It's not about apostasy. It's about keeping you in line with company policy. Let's call it what it is,
Yeah, right. So, well, that that you probably know or don't know. I have no idea how much you follow this stuff, but that all the Kingdom Halls in UK are under trust arrangement. There no Kingdom Halls owned by the
right. Yeah. They changed all that arrangement, and it's absolutely yeah.
So
just 1 second. Sorry,
okay.
Pomo. I am no longer in the United Kingdom. I am in New Jersey, USA.
What a downfall!
Right. I know.
Nobody from New Jersey is gonna like that, but I'm from New York. It's the same thing,
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee. Or water. How about that one?
I say water. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you put a T up. We put a G in there. You say, right? What?
We say water. Yeah.
Water. Okay. Now I want to know, Judy Martin, were you in Brooklyn Bethel? Well, she talking to me, yeah, but not him. I was at Brooklyn Bethel for almost 11 years.
Well done for getting out as well at age 72. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, twice now people said your accent is exactly like Lloyd Evans.
Oh my God, do not do that to me.
No, I just had to mention that. Well, it's a very nice accent, by the way. No, don't take it personally.
You worked with a Judy Martin in Bethel. Okay, that's cool. So anyway, let's get back to this one real quick.
Okay,
you guys in chat are awesome. We love you all. Don't forget to hit the like button.
This
if
is
you're not subscribed,
an interview with everybody. Hey, tell us about the arts.
Okay.
You changed your whole life. Okay, they're dying to hear this.
Yeah. So so obviously I was just go right back, and I was like when I was talking about how I was basically
nobody left.
And then and then I'm saying how I managed to get back on my own feet, and it was actually through the arts that helped me. So I went. One thing I was doing at the same time, I was in a punk band, and I was doing a fine arts degree at De Montfort University.
How'd you afford that?
I didn't. Grants got me through it. I got a bunch of grants, so I was very lucky. So I was able to take a couple of others elected as well, which I had to go along with the fine arts, which I just was like, I didn't worry about them. It was the fine arts I wanted. I wanted to learn some skills. So with the punk band, got some local success and had a bit of fun with that. And then with the fine arts degree, that means I do graphics pretty well. And then I also did acting. And that was mostly with the community theatres originally. And then...
this is in the UK?
This is all in the UK.
Okay. Hey, be careful what you write, folks, because he reads it. I think they were the first ones that I've ever been on this program that read all the comments on the side, But they're fascinating comments.
Yeah.
But now, getting into the art world, this a complete change. You know how the Watchtower organization it certainly tells us don't get involved in all of this. You went the absolute opposite. Now, of course, there's the big time people in the arts, and we're not saying they aren't, that are witnesses and were witnesses, but they don't direct you that way, that's for sure. And then if you become a success, then you're very popular amongst the witnesses, and the organization many times makes money off of you because they, you make money, you share it. So, but you're how did you actually, you went from a punk band and then you went acting, like how
I was doing acting around the same time as the punk band. It was kind of like, if I had time, I'd do the acting part as well because it was fun.
What did you do? Did you just go to a place and they were having interviews? And I mean, how do you get involved in acting?
Oh, okay. If you want to get involved in acting, it's often just go on your Facebook, and then you can type in even just maybe your town, your state, and you can say actors group or something like that, and you'll normally find there'll be a lot of people, there'll be a lot of groups for it, and there'll be a great way to entry level into acting for sure. There's also because there's a lot of people making independent films. There's a lot of people looking for people to get involved with, acting, etc., like that. So
I bet you there are going to people who are going to start looking on the internet.
Absolutely, you're right, Jane. There is a lot of movie making going on in Atlanta, Georgia.
I agree.
Yeah, there is a lot going on down there.
And I'm an hour and a half from there. I think I'll head that way. I'm coming.
There you go. You'll probably get a grant to make a documentary. There you go.
Well, okay. Tell us about your film, the love of film. Because see, I'm gonna apply for a job. So so let's hear about it. I got to see if it's the right place.
Oh my gosh, it's a everyone's heard of the starving artist thing, and sometimes it's feast or famine at times. And recently with all the COVID restrictions and everything else, and then we've had the strikes, so things are just starting to pick up again, really. But new year, let's see how it goes. Should be a good one. Got a few projects lined up.
Well, great.
A couple of horror movies and things like that.
But where did you really get going in this career? That is fascinating. When you told me about this, and I said, you got to tell the world, because this is the last thing I would have expected.
Right.
I don't know why, it just was when I heard it.
Right. Yeah. So so there was during all this time, I also started to live in London, and I was working at a small software company that went bang. Yeah, we went under because bigger competition, those with the money took kind of copied what we were doing, and we didn't have the money to fight it. So as I was about to be made redundant, I was like trying to work out what I was going to do. So I was working with a couple of them there. One of them was from Ivory Coast, and the other one was from Ghana. And both of them kept saying, "Oh, you have to go and visit Africa. You have to go and visit Africa." And so Ivory Coast is a French-speaking country, and Ghana is a English-speaking country. So Ghana won. That was it. And I went there, and it was absolutely amazing. So I spent 6 weeks there, I think. 60 days there, something like that. And then I was in love with the place, and I was back in the UK in 8 weeks, and I was like, I can't do this. I've got to go back to Ghana.
Oh,
So I went back to Ghana and ended up spending 8 years over there. When I was over there, I was running a music studio where we'd have a number of popular musicians from Ghana and even Nigeria would come and record there. I was started acting in film and theatre over there, and it's the wildest thing how I started acting in film. Was there was I got a phone call from my friends from the Netherlands who were living in Ghana, and they said, Richard, can you come to this place in the morning, 9 a.m.? And I said, I can. Oh, and do you know any other Europeans who can come with you? I said, I was sitting with one actually sharing a beer. And I said, yeah, we can come down in the morning. And so we went down to this hotel, 9 a.m. in the morning. We met up with this Nigerian director, and he'd actually won Africa's Best Director 5 times. He said to us, "Oh, this is what I'd like you to do," and he showed us the script, and we were like playing supporting roles. And I said, "Okay, so when are we filming this?" And he looked at his watch, and it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and he says, "Oh, I'd like to start shooting at 11." And that was the introduction into real kind of like acting and professional stuff then. So I went away from the community theatre into the real acting, and yeah, that's where we started from, which is just kind of wild. I never that's the most random place you ever
get. I mean, it was chance and circumstance, huh?
Right. Yeah. Actually, this is fun. I had a message today actually from one of my friends in Ghana who is originally from Italy. And he just finished making a movie over there. He's living over there himself. He's also, and it was funniest thing because whilst I was been over here in being online and talking about XJW stuff, he started saying, "Yeah, it's true what Richard's saying." And I found out he was also an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and yet we'd been friends over there and not mentioned it. It was like,
I'll tell you.
So yeah. So it is a small world. The other thing I also did in Ghana, actually, I did establish 2 schools over there. One was in the Bree Mountains, and the other one is in Dodowa, in a township called Dodowa.
How do you do that? How do you start a public school like?
And it's it's a private school, but it's extremely cheap, and it's through blood, sweat, and tears. You know, everyone's got to pitch in. I had a couple of guys who were like really passionate about making the school happen. They were Ghanaians, and I helped them, and we got the board of directors up and everything else, and we started making this school. One of them's an excellent carpenter and would work tirelessly day and night. Both of them would making the schoolrooms in this one village. It was incredible. I remember going there one time. It was just like the land. And then I went there the next weekend, and he'd built like a large he'd built 2 classrooms already, you know, and an accommodation. It was like, wow. So he was doing his own quick build. This is something else. Yeah.
What memories you have? You have such memories, you know?
Wow. Well, okay. Whilst in Ghana, so now we're on the topic of being in Ghana.
Yes.
A
place that most people do not think of going to, if you're living in the U.S.
Or in the UK. It's not like everyone goes, is it safe? It's so safe. And if you want to go visit somewhere in Africa and have a great experience, I will recommend it.
I got to Turkey. That was the farthest nearest to Africa.
There you go. Yeah, that's pretty cool, though. Yeah. I've not been to Turkey. Yeah, no. Yeah. So there was actually okay. Don't beat me up for this, people. But when I was there, I started to question everything again. And I was, as I said, physically out, mentally in.
So your brain was not cleansed.
So I was like going, okay. And this time I didn't have the pressure of family. I didn't have the pressure of anybody from my past with me. I could just literally make a clean slate and say, let me see, So I wanted to see if I'd missed anything, see if I left prematurely, if I should never have left or whatever else. And so I did start to attend meetings again. I had a study. They were looking at me becoming a theocratic ministry school member. They wanted me to become a publisher within the first 3 months of me being back. It was like that fast. And but I kept putting it off. And I would pay attention. And at the time, it was like 2012. So there was a big XJW movement online at that time. There was lots of groups in Facebook and other places. And I took the time and I was telling people what I was doing. And people would tell me to look out for certain things in the, I can't remember exactly, but they would just tell me, like, look, watch out for this, watch out for that. And as you sat back and I would listen to what they were saying in these groups, and I went to the Kingdom Hall, it was like, oh, you could just see the cookie cutter answers to everything. You could see the hypocrisy. You could see the how they basically even denied their own history, like refusing to accept that Russell was the foundation of everything. And that was actually an answer that they gave. There was a Watchtower article, and it says, why did Russell found the witnesses? And there was an elder who says, categorically, no, they did not,
Mm-hmm.
But it was only an elder that got to answer those awkward questions in the Watchtower,
Mm-hmm.
which was very interesting to note. It was a lot of hypocrisy. Again, straight away, you would have how the everyday person would dress, and then you had and how the sisters were expected to dress, etc. And then you had the elder's daughter who came dressed almost how she wanted, and you could even see that tension in the congregation, those kind of things. I remember there was twice I met with different Bethelite people. One was from Nigeria, because the person I was studying with was a former missionary. He was Ghanaian, but he was a former missionary. So he knew that he had friends in the Nigerian Bethel. They would come and visit him, and they would give cookie cutter answers to everything. And the Ghanaians would also, from the Ghanaian Bethel, did the same thing. And when you realize that they didn't have anything from themselves, there was nothing heartfelt, there was nothing coming from within them, it was just a cookie cutter answer, then you go, okay, these are just drones. That's how someone was describing the witnesses. And I was like, this is so true. And so once you realize that they were just like drones, there can't be real love, because it's artificial.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really started light bulb moments. There was light bulb moments going off, and that helped me then to become physically out and mentally out.
This is what you needed.
It was exactly what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to go back and see it for myself as an adult.
Yeah.
Because I left as a kid, in my opinion, I'd left as a kid, but I came back as an adult to see it if it was the right decision. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so even though part of me felt so...
You were free. Wouldn't you say that? Then you were free.
Yeah, but part of me wanted it to believe it because it was comfortable. Mm-hmm. It was so familiar feeling. Mm-hmm. And I want, it's weird. It happens even when I hear the Kingdom melodies sometimes, they just pop up in my head and I go, yeah. But I don't want to return now. Mm-hmm. At that time, it was always this, maybe I just want to go back or find out what it's like. But I'm not anymore. I'm not there anymore. And I'm happy I'm free. And I'm happy I got to see the hypocrisy with my own eyes as an adult. I'm happy I got to see all these things and that it was very real. And what I've realized is no matter where you are in the world, the experience is the same. So when I talk to people from America who are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, us in the UK had the same experience.
That's
And
right.
from when I've been in Ghana, and I can tell you, the brothers and sisters over there have the same experience as those in the UK and those in the USA. It's exactly the same. And yeah, so
Because to remember what the theme of the organization psychologically is, everybody speaks the same language, right? Everybody speaks the same thing, no matter where you're in the world, and then that became your identification. So that you're comfortable because you're back in the sameness and what you remembered, but you weren't free. Again, you weren't free.
what I've realized is there are some people who jump from abusive relationship to abusive relationship. It's not because they want to be in an abusive relationship, but it's because it's normal. They can understand it and be in that space and be okay with it. Whereas a lot of us would like no and want to run from it. And so it's the same thing when you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness and you know, sometimes you can walk by the building and not want to be in it. But I'm pretty sure some of us, if we walked inside, we'd go, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Others of us would be getting PTSD and
Mm-hmm.
it
just depends. Different strokes for different folks. Yeah?
Right. Yeah,
And
that's it.
it's
all valid, and everyone is at different stages of healing. Yes. And you know,
well, we're all different. That's why the Watchtower is a failure. They tried to.
It says we only help Nigerian princes. Don't worry, they appreciate your support.
Ephraim says, if there is something the Jehovah's Witnesses are worldly united is in suffering. The same abuse
no matter where they are.
Oh yeah, Ephraim's from Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ephraim. You're absolutely spot on. It's a united brotherhood of grief, isn't it?
That's a new one. I'm going to use that.
Right, a united brotherhood of grief. You know, that's what it is. You know.
I like that one. Hey, okay, let's
the grief your own.
Now you're satisfied. You're out of this. You've seen it. You make a decision, and what are you doing now?
Well, so.
You're in the U.S. You come out of
So I left Ghana. I'm now living in New Jersey. Before I got here, I was living in so I went back to the UK, and it was too cold. I couldn't tolerate the winter. I was like, no, I can't do this. And this was in Leicester, and so I decided I would go and visit some friends of mine in Paris, and so Paris. So I spent about 6 months in Paris living there, and then I get itchy feet. My feet started to itch again, and I was like, okay, and we came to the USA. Partly again, started off as sort of a vacation / let's see what's out there kind of exploration thing going on. In that time, I met up with film people, and I've been doing some acting, been doing some directing, some editing, which has led to multiple awards, which has been very nice. And it's paid some bills as well, which helps.
When you act, what kind of roles do you take?
Actually, the last role I took on was a short film, but it's a proof of concept for a bigger film. And it was like a gangster kind of guy. Yeah,
I could see that.
You know what I mean? Like from London, love. You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't want to mess with us. Yeah. Sort of thing.
A different accent for a different.
Right? Yeah. Because it's the South there, isn't it? You know what I mean? So New Jersey, Keith Silvers.
Somebody says New Jersey,
I saw that.
You see that? Yeah, New Jersey. Ay. Okay.
So that song is now going to be known as "Make the Grief Your Own." No,
See, they've adopted it.
there you go.
This
We love it.
program
That's
will
awesome.
be
If that's your
remembered for
takeaway,
that.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, it's
It's
great.
fun though. I want to let some other people know that it's not just me who's come out and done these kind of artistic things. Top of the list, to be honest, though, would be Tony Duchesne. Right now, he's a friend of mine on Facebook and in real life, and he was the writer of the movie Confessions of a Teenage Jesus Jerk. Yeah.
Mhm.
Confessions of a Teenage Jesus. You can go off on Tubi and watch it. You can go on Amazon Prime and watch it in other places. Tony Duchesne is the writer. What attracted me to the States? Opportunity, opportunity to do this creative stuff, and to not be like tied down by like my old friends or whatever. Because when I was in the UK, I was checking out to see what my friends were doing, like from the punk band time, and they were still literally doing the old stuff, but no longer doing the music. So like the crazy drinking and everything, we hadn't changed. And I was like, I've got to move on. I've got to evolve. And so sometimes you got to just move yourself from that situation and circumstance. And you don't hate the people, but you just got to go, no, I've got to do this for me. So it's one of the things. And if you want to make movies, then the USA is a good place to be creative and to find that opportunity,
Yeah, you mentioned to me anyway, and I didn't know what in the world you were talking about. You mentioned IMDb.
Yeah, so IMDb is the Internet Movie Database, and basically nearly every movie is listed on there, and it should tell you where you find it streaming as well. So if you typed my name in there, you'll see my name. You should see some of my credits, and you should
have
see
18 awards.
Yeah, 18 awards are on there as well.
But what year was this, sort of? So they know it's so long ago. It's not too long ago that all this was happening, and so give them the date.
For what? Which one?
For this involvement with the IMDb. I've got.
IMDb is always ongoing.
But for you in the U.S., when did you get involved in the U.S. with all of this stuff? You gave me a date.
2014.
Exactly. So that wasn't very long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. It's going to be 10 years, though, if you think about it. Wow. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to throw an apostate party. So, apostate party. So, yeah, other people, though, that I met along the way is like Christy McGinnity. She's also in a couple of XJW groups, and she was in many moons ago, like Ghost Whisperer and things like that. She did small roles in things like that. And then she was in Little Women LA as well. So she's did a reality TV show. Another one who's come out as an XJW would be Drew Vin Varick, who was in American Horror Story. If you're into American Horror Story, would be in The Freak Show, and he was the character Toulouse. One of my friends is Christopher Campbell, who's an extreme musician and entertainment artist. He does a lot of crazy creative stuff, and I do want to shout him out and just throw him some good vibes because he's battling cancer right now up in Canada.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he's it was just wild actually, because he's got so many connections of mine networked as an entertainment person, and then I found him on an XJW friend's post commenting, and I was like, "You too," and he was like, "Like what? We're outing each other." Yeah.
They never tell you. I went to a new chiropractor one time.
Yeah.
And so I found out that he was raised as a witness. If he wasn't the most opinionated chiropractor I ever met in my whole life about everything in this world, and when I finally found out that he was raised, and he had no use for Jehovah's Witnesses, but he was acting like one. I'm going to tell you.
And what's his name? Cat Williams was XJW. In fact, there's been a lot of like entertainers that we watch who like DMX and all these other rappers. There's the LL Cool J and others that they're all XJWs or had association with the Watchtower at some point, and they're like, that's not the life I want. You know, because, and I hate to say this, but there is no life in the Watchtower, is there?
No.
You know, when you're there, there's nothing to get inspired or happy about. You know, I remember one time I was still living at home, but I was actually working. I was 16 working, and I was working in a shoe factory. Yeah, I was a cobbler. And the lady asked me, "Oh, you got a great tan. Where did you go?" And I didn't want to tell her. I'd sat for 4 days at a convention. You know? I was like, "Oh, I just went to the beach." You know, I just came up with some excuse. But like, yeah, I'd sat 4 days in the sun. You know, and it was like, yeah, at a convention.
Yeah.
And that was the highlights of our year. Was probably watching the live drama. You know.
Well, you know, we were willing to give up all the fun things of this world because we were going to live forever. Right? And that's when everything was going to be wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Let me just quickly get to Ephraim. Okay, so Freak Show is the one which Drew is in, and he is the French guy, the little French guy who kisses the two-headed lady at the end, and she says, "Why did you lick me?" And he says, "Because I am French." There you go. So now you know. Little Breaking Bad, amazing series, great.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
It's. I'm actually rewatching it, yeah, and they've just fallen through the bath again. I just found that hysterical, but yeah. So yeah.
So now you are involved with something, and with us. I had to ask you before. I said, "What in the world is this? The name of your?"
Okay, so we're going to be at a steampunk convention on the 23rd to the 25th next weekend in Bethel, PA. It's going to be a lot of fun. If people who know what steampunk is, it's basically imagine modern day technology, but it's powered by steam, and it's basically I'm saying basically a lot. Sorry about that, guys. It's how would I put this? Victorian dressing, and so that aesthetic with lots of steam devices. So everything's powered by steam. I'm trying to think of some movies right now, and they've escaped me. But yeah, there's actually movies in that genre as well, which are awesome. It's just it's a great aesthetic, and it's just something fun to do. You know?
Yeah, but what's your genre now?
Oh, what do I like to do? I do like creating horror movies.
Horror movies. And what's the name of your company?
Okay, Art OD Films. Yeah.
Art
OD Films.
Okay,
Art
so
OD
art,
Films.
You gets the word art in there, folks.
Yeah.
Art and OD.
Yeah.
I don't know where you got that
okay,
from.
this is wild. Okay, everyone ready for a wild trip right now? I don't know if you want.
Oh, really?
Oh, this gets wild. So when I was younger, there was a man who I was talking to, and he was like, "Oh, instead of calling it this, why not change your logo to something like RT?" And it's like, but like have RT as in your initials capitalized, and I was like, okay. And this guy was an engineer, but he was just a fun guy to chat with, so it was okay. That's a cool idea. Then as life went on, I've made some friends, and one of my friends was involved in a cult from 1997. Does anyone see where this is going? Just going to give everyone 5 seconds to type in something.
I don't know.
So there was what's been classed as the biggest mass suicide in the US soil.
Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was the Heaven's Gate cult, and one of my friends was in it, and he was he Yeah, so he left like 3 years before they all in 94, but they all committed suicide in 97. So I thought to myself, it was fun actually to call it Artodi, because it's more like, this is me, Richard Thrift. I'm artistic and I'm a cult survivor. So that's what it all means in that one little name.
Huh. I knew there had to be a reason.
Right?
That's
So,
nice. They remember it. You know, you have the same old as everybody else. But
right?
yours is different.
Right, and it's got a story behind it, and people, when they hear it, that some people are like, "Oh wow, yeah, okay." yeah.
So now you're
Wild West. Thank you, Chicago Phil. Wild West is a good steampunk movie. You're right, Chicago Phil.
Yeah, we just read the comments. We can do
Yeah.
a whole program just on the comments.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for hosting, Rick. We're just going to take over now. So, no.
You know what? Anybody that would work for you would have a lot of fun.
Right, they do. Yeah. Actually, if you are in, here's a fun one. Quick. Sorry about this, Rick. If anyone is actually in the PANJ NY area and would like to come to the steampunk convention next week and be a volunteer, do let me know. All right, that's all.
Oh no, you're not released yet. You know. So, all in all, what would you liken the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses to? You and I, we chatted a little bit about this. Back when I was a witness, this was kind of common knowledge, but today they don't talk about it much because you don't find too many organizations that fit the bill. And
they remind me of the what is now the Philadelphia Church of God.
Oh, do you?
They do. There was the Worldwide Church of God.
Of course, that you could see that, but as far as marketing,
oh yeah, I could see that they are a multi-level marketing thing, which is why so many ex and current Jehovah's Witnesses have fallen into multi-level marketing business schemes, or some of them have been legit, but others, a lot of them are just pyramid schemes, and because it is a pyramid scheme as much as it is a multi-level marketing scheme. Because it's a pyramid scheme, it's easy for JWs, ex-JWs as well, to fall into that trap. Watchtower and Amway have merged.
Yes, I love the one before that. It says, "You're the first guest to leave Barbara speechless." I knew when I met you, Richard, that you had something about you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. G, you're absolutely right about it. It is crazy to have a friend who was in Heaven's Gate. Yeah, it was an eye opener. He was like just doing music, and then when I found out, he started talking about it. And actually, everybody, if you've ever watched any of the Heaven's Gate programs, he was Sawyer. That's actually my friend. So you've probably seen him on HBO. Yeah, but yeah. I totally agree, Mr. G, that Watchtower and Amway, they have merged. They do do take on the same kind of things, and when you join something like Amway, there's always that meeting, isn't there?
Yes.
And there's always that teasing. So the meeting is like this with the Amway. It's like, well, you see this brand new phone? You too. If you just get X amount of people, you can get this phone. Look at the lifestyle I now have because of this phone. And the Watchtower goes, all you got to do is publish X amount of Watchtowers on this, and then you get to live forever on Earth. There's no difference. It's just... and when you go off and you sell houses, even, you'll find yourself being able to take a presentation of the Watchtower that you used to use on door-to-door sales, and just swap the words around, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. One of my sisters, when she went for a job when double glazing was still like a newer thing, and there was double glazing salesmen that would knock on your doors, and she went there. She was like the youngest person walking into this building. And they said, well, okay, got all these people here, all this experience here. What do you have that you can bring to the table? She goes, I'm a Jehovah's Witness. They went, you are hired. They hired her because they knew she wasn't going to be afraid to knock on doors, and they knew that she was going to be able to sell.
That's
you
right.
know, because you just turn around and you just say, hey, hi, I'm just calling around you and your neighbors because when the winter months come along, we can all feel the drafts coming through the windows in these old homes. Now, our company is the only one that provides secure windows that will, and that's it. It's the same presentation.
Yeah.
It's the same present.
When I was young, I'd go for a job, and people would usually say the same thing about my sales ability. And so I absolutely could sell the Brooklyn Bridge if I tried.
Right? We could, it's like we could sell Santa the Saharan desert, it's
yeah. But we dealt with so many different types of people that after a while you pigeonhole them. This is the personalities. I actually said one time, there's about only three different distinctive personalities. And I had them in my head. That's when I was an active witness, and I said, this person fits this and this person fits that, and you knew how to handle them. Well, I could do the same thing working. So when I went to work for Aetna Life Insurance, it wasn't any time that all of a sudden
life insurance. See, yeah,
but I didn't go out and sell. I was in the office. They were going to make me an underwriter. I never had it, but I could. They noticed it right away that I could sell anything, and make it sound good. So that's what the Watchtower did for us all, everybody.
Yeah. One thing that I'm always careful of, that since I've been out, and I noticed it a number of years ago, and I've always been cautious of it, is that we were never taught to love. We were always taught to sell and to use somebody to our own, that thing to our own advantage. And I've sat down sometimes and I've gone, how did I mess up? And then I go, well, that was a JW thing. That was, like that was and then when you start to go, right, I've got to do better, because it can train you from infancy to see people in a different light, and to interact with people for different reasons, for the wrong reasons in a way. Because you're smiling on the doorstep and talking to this householder, and you walk away, there's a different conversation being said. Normally it is, they live in a nice house, I can't wait to inherit that when Armageddon comes and their eyes are being picked out after I've dragged their body onto the street. And then I was taught from a young age how to shun somebody even though you loved them.
What a contradiction, and you don't notice it when you're
in. And so I've been really careful to not be that person. And sometimes I didn't realize it at one point, and I think I caught myself out one time, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's actually a thing. And I was like, oh, all right, I now know where I have to work on myself. And that's the other thing that you will find if you're leaving just now. You'll find yourself working on yourself, and that's fine. That's great.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself slipping up, it's not the end of the world. You can always move forward. No one's going to disfellowship you again. Yeah.
No, that's right. You said, we were talking about this famous famous statement when they came out in the Bible, and they said change the scripture and use the words mentally diseased.
Right. Yeah. That was in the 2012 Watchtower, which was printed for like 2013 as well. But yeah, they were calling people who had left the Watchtower as mentally diseased people.
I wrote a letter after I read that. I wrote a lot. I never have written a letter to Watchtower after I left. And by 12, I had been out about 13 years. And so I wrote to Splain. He was over the writing department. And I used all kinds of illustrations. And I was very kind. But at the same, that letter is somewhere on the internet because different people put it out there. It wasn't but a good year later that they removed that, and I take the credit for it. I have to say, I take the credit.
I remember seeing the backlash from that.
It's a terrible backlash. Yeah. And I said to him in my letter, I said, look what you've done to children. What if their father was disfellowshipped or did not want to be a witness any longer?
So, since I've been in New Jersey, actually, you just brought up something beautiful. They did actually write to me, just generic. Hello, I'm your neighbor. No, you're not. You're miles away. But anyway, they wrote to me, and I turned around and I was like, how do I respond to this? So I turned around and I said, so I have spoken to many members of your church. I've had people crying on my shoulder about how they are shunned by you because they decided they couldn't believe in the same way. Why would I want to join you? And if I have children, and they wanted to leave, that then you would force me to shun my own child. Why would I want to be in that? And then if my child is sick and needs a blood transfusion, you would demand that I kill my child by refusing them a blood transfusion. And I went through a whole list of wonderful things that they encourage. And I never heard back from them. It was very sad.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
It's sad that these are our memories. We had some good ones. There's no doubt about it. My husband and I, we traveled. Because of being a witness, if I hadn't been a witness, I don't think I would have been all over the world almost.
Yeah, that's it. It's such a oxymoron, isn't it? There's sometimes that it can really open up doors. For some people, it's opened up doors and endless possibilities. I'm not saying it did. I'm not saying it didn't. But there was an Awake article on a lady from Liberia who was in a wheelchair, and that now you know that the Awake back then, millions and millions and millions of people read the Awake. So when the Watchtower endorsing this lady from Liberia who was in the Bujubaram camp in Ghana, the refugee camp, when they were endorsing her, she's now in the USA. I know that because I went off actually to Bujubaram camp whilst I was going back in to say hello to her and and give her some encouragement. And it was, but then they was like, oh no, and actually someone did say it was because of that she was able to travel because it was like an endorsement from the Watchtower itself. So yeah. So for some people it's worked really well. For other people, not so much. Yeah, no, Jane, I agree with you about the was it you said leaving and being afraid of worldly people. It is something we have to overcome. Yes, we did often explain things away. We could justify how we could do X or Y. You're right. Yeah. And I understand it, Vintage, about not being wished happy birthday. There are triggers. I find it very socially awkward to celebrate the holidays still. I've been out many years, but I still find it awkward.
Yeah, we do too.
I don't know how
But I celebrated as a child because I was Catholic.
Right.
That was my favorite holiday.
Right.
You steal all my lines.
Right.
Anyway, my mother said, I don't know how you became a witness to give up Christmas because that was your favorite holiday. And but years and years and years of no celebrating anything, and you just grow used to it. But if you celebrate something, you also acknowledging that the person that you're celebrating over or with or giving them a gift, that there's somebody. You make them special. And with this organization, you can't make that. That's illegal. You can't make other people special.
What I found was interesting
Yeah, go ahead.
in the book of Job's, right, we're taught that, the Bible only talks about bad things, about birthdays. Well, it's not actually strictly true. What actually happened was in the book of Job, we read different versions. You read like literal translations, and they say that the sons of Job or the children of Job went off and celebrated their birthdays.
Yes.
And then Job made a sacrifice after. And then it was only because Satan was allowed to test Job that those things happened. It wasn't because they were celebrating birthdays that those things happened. So it was as somebody pointed out, we were taught to be experts in logical fallacies. Nice one, Maverick. That's exactly it. So their doctrine is so wrong on so many different levels. It's not even funny, but we were taught to make these mental jumps that we should never have done. And it does. I think that takes some healing as well. And that's why some people, myself included, remained in for so long, because we hadn't healed properly from those mental jumps that we had to make.
Well, we were good people, though. Remember, we didn't steal. Right? I mean, that's what we bragged about. We were better than everybody else, until you've read in the paper that somebody,
Well, this is it. It's like I know somebody who has some very bad experiences with the witnesses, to the point where they lost antique furniture that got stolen out of the house. And books that they'd bought went missing from straight after the witnesses had visited, and all these other things had happened, and even trying to extort houses. I know of people I've heard of people who said, well, they were in a nursing home. Witnesses are there giving free Bible studies for them, and a lot of older people go to these Bible studies because there's nothing else for them to do in these homes. So they're going along, and they just appreciate somebody sitting there and paying attention to them for an hour. And then that person starts to convince them that they should be even if they didn't join the witnesses, that they should be giving their money and their home that they still own over to the Watchtower. So they start signing everything over, and the kids come along expecting a small inheritance. Everything's gone to the Watchtower.
Exactly.
And they'll come along and help you with care of your parents, and then they're like trying to convince your parents, oh yes, shouldn't you give this house to Jehovah? It's just
those are really good points, and we hope that they help others, because we could be sitting in front of the TV, or we could be doing other things and not here, but this is our joy, to help others to have a happy life. Life is short.
I agree with Jane there. She says you need that celebration of self. What is the problem in making another person feel good? Absolutely spot on.
That is right. So how would you I know what I wanted to say. I went to your Facebook page. And I saw where you had some sort of an invitation to people to what did they do? Read the script or something?
Oh, right. So sometimes I do tape.
You're going to have more phone calls, so people are going to really.
Yeah. So sometimes I do table reads for film scripts. Sometimes I'll write a film script. I've got it in stage one. Maybe it's the first draft, and I just want to hear it read out. So I just put it out there, say, hey, who wants to join me for a table read? A lot of actors enjoy doing it because it gives them something to do, and it gives them something to practice with. And then a lot of people, you don't need any acting skills. You need breathing and reading skills and being able to vocalize that. After that, that's it. And then you just come along and, there's no repetition for emphasis. You're not going to be judged like that. It's all good. So
don't they also help you on your script in a way? They just don't read it, but don't they?
No. They often give me I like fact that they give me feedback, and I'm laughing at GG4GB. He just said we should all include Watchtower in our wills and leave them a pallet of steel.
Yeah, Gigi. She's a comedian. Yeah. The real personalities come out after you leave the witnesses, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
So everybody could go on your Facebook
Yeah.
page, everybody to remember his name. And when he has another one of those where you could call in and participate and help this man because he needs help with those scripts.
Yeah, so if you just look out for our Toady Films, in fact, and you go off and like that page, that will help me a lot. And then by doing that, I will put the casting calls. I will the table reads out there and anything else. And if you feel like you want to get involved and do a table read, it's fun. And you get to network with people who are already acting, and you get to network with people who are just having fun, and it's nice. It's a nice environment as well. Like there was the other day, there was an award-winning actor, multiple award-winning actor. Actually, he'd won like 17 awards in 1 year. It was like mind-blowing. Artodi Films, one word, Artodi.
Yeah,
Artodi Films. Go off and find that on YouTube, on Facebook and YouTube, and then you can. And I will put the casting, the table reads out there, and everyone is welcome to join. Everyone is welcome to join.
We don't mind advertising here,
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Hey, Rich, is the next title of your horror film called "Come Be a JW Today"?
That's too terrifying. Couldn't do that. It's going to be called The Publisher.
Yeah.
Actually, how about that? We should do a horror movie now about a JW who goes around and he's actually just a serial killer.
You know what? That's not unusual. I know of cases. For real, this one gal in Washington State, she made a return visit, and she went out before they met at the meeting, at the book study place, and then they met for service. So she was pioneering, and she went before they met, and she never turned up, and she had left home. Everybody knew that she was headed over there, so she made a return visit. Nobody ever saw her again. And so when the police and I know this case because my husband, his roommate, was the one who told us, and he was active. This is when we were witnesses.
I'm sorry. Now I've got a terrible title for a movie called The Witness Eater, but carry on.
But she disappeared, and the wife was the one who maneuvered to get her in the house. See, she made a number of return visits, thought there was interest. And the wife was she was responsible for lulling this woman into a condition of trust. Got her in the house, and he was the one, her husband murdered her. Oof. And they found her body a while later. And so, but they got the folk. I mean, we heard the whole story. I was one time going door to door. My husband was across the street, and this fella came to the door, and he had no shirt on, and he was young and muscular, and he was trying to get me in the house. And so I kept saying, my husband's right across the street. He said, that doesn't make any difference. And he tried and he tried. Well, I knew I was in danger if my husband hadn't been across the street. So this is like, they want to deny that all of this is God's with you. Job is with you. And they want to deny that kids are working when they're going door to door. And we're
not out there voluntary.
Yeah.
I say that for my, yeah.
Yeah, so horror movie about Toni Morris. Now, that would be a good one.
That'd just be...
he was funny. And some people I know said, and I have to agree, I've seen him. He was very earthy. He was in the Vietnam War. He was, what was he? What's it called? He was...
You had a gun pulled on you? Wow, Kerry. Wow.
I know Kerry. Huh. Door to door work. Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
So there probably been a lot of horrible things that have happened. We just never heard about them. Nobody ever told us that it could be in danger. So
Tony Morris, the Flasher returns.
say, where did you get that title? It'd be hard to explain.
Terminator, like a Terminator type movie, but it's like TM3, you know.
He's a flamer. But Tony was very earthy, and I heard him give a talk about women. Wow, you know, he didn't have. He seemed like he had respect, but then on the other hand, he seemed like.
And then he was doing those talks with the matches and goes, see, and then he's like sadistic laughter of like the idea of all these billions of people being snuffed out, and I was like, that's kind of sadistic.
You know, I'd like to know what Hendrix did for them to throw him out. That's what I would like to know. And,
that one would be very interesting to find.
And it'll come out someday.
Mm-hmm.
So the. Well, we had an adventure. I call it an adventure because we didn't have anything horrible happen except we all lost our mind. So we had our lives by, you know, those who were raised in it didn't have any choices. I did have a choice. But I loved it for a long time until I saw the good in it. And that was the Bible Hope. Mm-hmm. But when I saw that what they were hiding, that was different, and I couldn't go anymore with it.
No, that's it. Once you see certain things, you can't go. You know, no.
And I think everybody.
Tony Morris gone with the wind. Gone with the whiskey, but yeah, I agree.
That is like smoke. Hey, I bet we're the first ones to do one of these interviews that were everybody's involved.
I love everyone, so everyone's allowed to get involved, you know.
Yeah,
so
we
good.
love this, folks. This is really nice.
Yeah.
Hey, I know about this one. A JW was shot in the car sitting outside a few months ago. He was waiting on his wife and kid, I think, in the house. And a youngster came on a bicycle. He was, 14 years old or something like that? And he killed the witness. He shot him. That's you know, that's one of the main reasons I believe, and there's other cases too, that's why they have given up on this house-to-house work. It's a different world. It's too dangerous.
It is a different world, and at least with the cart, well, you'd have thought that the cart witnessing would have been safe, but look at what happened the other day. They were talking about, like they're going to be at the Super Bowl with these thousands of witnesses, and it was great because you had just done that whole thing about how the Watchtower uses the newspapers to lie, and this was one of their lies, you know, that they were using. You know, it was fantastic to see how they were manipulating the news, and then there was a shooter at the end of the Super Bowl, which is just, and then on the forums, on the XJW forums, I actually found out there was one of our former witnesses. He was standing between one of the people who got hit and the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Just yeah.
Hey, Barbara and Richard, we're gonna open the lines up. We got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
Well,
we've already talked with them all.
We're talking with them as well. It's all good.
Yeah,
you know.
no, that's on the chat, but we get people also on our radio network and our telephone line. So why don't we see if we can get someone in? Hey, listen, you've been listening to Richard Thrift. He's a former Jehovah's Witness. You heard his story, and great story. We really were all so involved in listening to what he had to say. We got a lot of listeners listening in right now, Richard. Why don't you want to say hello to Richard? By all means, hit *6. Come on, say hello to Richard. Tell him what you think. And
tell him you want to be a movie star.
Tell him you want to be a movie star is right. Maybe you'll write.
We loved Richard. Please come again to Barbara. Thank you, lady. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you.
So go ahead and hit *6 if you want to say hello to Richard. I'll be the icebreaker here. But earlier in the program, you mentioned Leicester, England. Mm-hmm. I like the Leicester, Massachusetts. I live up here in the Boston area and in New England, and we have a lot of towns up here that
You
are
prefer
actually.
tea or coffee?
Yeah, we have a lot of towns up here that actually are named after the English town. We have a Leicester, we have a Billerica, even Tewkesbury. I live in Tewkesbury. That's an English town.
Tewkesbury. There you go. That's in the Midlands as well. Yeah.
There you go. Also, we have a town up here called Chelmsford. That's where one of the main operations of the Watchtower is over there in the UK. So yeah, it's amazing that you came on tonight. I do appreciate your accent. I didn't realize you lived in New Jersey, and
I
that's
live in New Jersey. Yeah. I'm on the East Coast.
yeah. Well, that's good.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you, Jane, for saying you enjoyed everything. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. It's all about getting you guys to be involved in here, and I'm glad that you were able to relate in some ways and find something, some points that you liked. It's cool.
Plus, it was an evening of happiness. It was not of despair, was it? It was happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We have 401 coming in from the United Kingdom. What would you like to say, 401?
Hi, I wanted to thank you all. First of all, it was an amazing discussion, Barbara and Richard and Rick. But I did want to ask Richard if anyone wanted to contact you later, like after the program, about collaboration and stuff. How would they go about doing that?
Go on to Artody Films. That would be the best way on Facebook right now. Hold on a moment. I've got a Facebook group. Hold on a minute. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Sorry, guys. That's actually my Facebook group. I don't know if you can see that. It's slightly out of focus, but it'll give you an idea.
Yeah. ARTODY.
Films.
Artody.
ARTODY. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
We want to hear your voice on that program now. It's like, we did it. We put him there.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm open to collaboration. I'm even going to say to Rick that if you wanted to do a documentary on the 6 screens, I think that would be pretty cool.
The history of the 6 screens.
That's brilliant.
Right, because we'd be able to get that on like Tubi streaming platforms and Amazon Video Prime, Amazon Prime.
Well, you know what, Richard? I actually thought of submitting some articles, some narrative to Netflix, but not necessarily about the 6 screens.
Okay. Here's a good fun thing. If you wanted to do that, and here's anyone who's a screenwriter out there right now, this is what I'm going to tell you. So if you want to pitch a script to Netflix, there's a very easy way to do it. It's not that expensive or complicated. There's a website called stage32.com. It's like Facebook for movie creative people. And they have pitch sessions to Netflix executives. So you could literally take your script and say, I have this. And as long as you've got your pitch deck ready, then they will listen to you, and it's about $35 to go and pitch to.
Yeah, in fact, I saw that. I was going to get that. The thing is, I was thinking about. We've been on now for close to 20 years. We've been on 19 years. Never missed a Saturday night. We have had so many people call into this program. Some of the stuff was really. Hold on one second. Some of the information that the people tell stories on here like you tonight, some of them are pretty horrific. And the program could start off each week like a documentary where a person calls into the 6 screens and gives their story, and then they could take.
And we go back to you, and you just say, "And I just could not believe this information that this guy was doing." And we go to Barbara, who's going, and then I found out all this research, and she just throws papers in the air.
Well, I think there should be exposure for Barbara. These stories have to be told. They really
I'm available.
Well, Barbara, you're still attractive enough. You still could be.
An ugly person is not.
Barbara, in fact, I got a hold of some people in Hollywood. They said they're reserving a spot on the sidewalk for you. Very shortly.
They took Tony Morris's star off. They're going to put yours now.
I love it. Oh, hey, if you want to see somebody really attractive, that Carrie Kay. Now, that gal who posted here a little bit ago. Hey, Carrie, you are gorgeous. I saw her picture. So we got a lot of XJWs that could, they could make it. They could make it in Hollywood.
Yeah.
We could start a beauty contest, Miss XW, but I mean, we have had a program on here called the Apostate's Got Talent. We could do a beauty contest.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. I didn't anticipate this.
It's all good. I love it. This is what it's about. And honestly, like, we should be happy people. We should show that happiness, that we have happy. Because since leaving the Watchtower, yes, we're exposing it. Yes, we have to talk about it. But, we have to laugh about things as well. And we have to have fun. And we have joy in our lives. And we have, so who will play the GB? Vintage? Great question. Join my group and we'll find out.
Well,
we'll have Rick playing Tony. No, I'm joking.
No, we had a lot of fun on here tonight, really. And you got a really good sense of humor. You really do. And it's amazing. You're going to go on. You're still a young man. And you're going to go on and be very, very successful. I can see that. So you just keep moving in the right direction. We're all proud of you. We really, really are.
Yeah. Hey, let's read that one on the side. Wow.
My brother in Warwick just texted me, just got out of his meeting. 4 individuals just stormed out, made quite a scene. The house, he's justifying them. Please do expand, Keith. We're interested. Can you call in? Keith? What's the number? Now's the time to shout.
I'll put the number. Let's get the number up there. Let's see if we can't get him to call in. Let's put the number up there right now. So there's the number. Call that number. If you want to say hello to Richard, go ahead. We got about 5
in and talk about it. We're up for it.
We got about 5 minutes left or so. Let's see if we can get some more takers coming in. Hey, if you'd like to say hello to Richard, we got a number of people on our radio network as well. If you'd like to call in, just hit the *6. You're ready to go. We'd love to hear what you have to say. What do you think of tonight's program? What do you think? Can we all sit back here and have some fun like we had tonight? Why can't we do that? The ex-witness world, we can let our hair down once in a while and be normal people. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely, and we should be showing the joy because, when you're in the Watchtower, you go off to the assemblies and you're like, and you're at the Kingdom Hall and you're like.
Here we go. We have our good friend Shirley calling in. I think she's coming in from New York City. Go ahead, Shirley.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, I'm just wondering. I'm on YouTube now, and I don't see any chat. Is something wrong, or is it just me? Because I don't see any chat at all. I'm on YouTube now.
We're seeing the chat coming from YouTube right now. That's where most of this chat is coming from. So maybe you've hidden the chat thing.
Rick. I don't know, Rick, is it me or because I don't see any chat at all? I logged off and came back in like 3 times. So is it just me?
No, we're getting it on here, so I think it is just you. But there's 2 chats on there. Sometimes people only get the preferred comments. I'm not sure how to do that, but someone said that a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know what to tell you, Shirley. You logged out and came back in again. You can't get on chat, huh?
Yeah, because it's like live chat or top chat.
All right,
and I'm clicking on both. And
no, just click on. You want live chat. You don't want.
That's what I was on, live chat, and I'm seeing nothing at all.
Is
that interesting? I actually just went off on YouTube right now just to check the stream, and I see the chat in the right bar here. So there you go.
No, I'm looking at myself right now. Well, it's just it could be a little snafu. I hate to say that. Shut your computer off and try it again.
Yeah.
You could try that. That might work, Shirley. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Shadow banned.
Yeah. No. That adds some more insight to it. There's a top chat. I don't know where she's seeing that, and there's a regular chat, live chat.
Right.
Live chat is what you want. Yep. All right.
Keith isn't coming back in. He's not saying anything more.
All right.
All right, guys. Yeah.
Well, Richard, thank you. Barbara, thank you. Great program. I really liked it. It will be uploaded. In fact, I'll send you a link to the program when it's uploaded, Richard. You'll have it the next day, okay?
Awesome. Sounds like a plan.
So you can take a look at yourself and see how you and Barbara handled yourself tonight. Fine job.
Right.
We're teaming up. We're going to have a comedy show.
Right.
Well, I think that would be wonderful. Well, you guys be good. Keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up or out. Keep waving that flag of victory.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Richard.
Paul.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
Richard.
All right, we're gonna end the program right here, but don't go anywhere. We have a number of programs coming up tonight here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork. We're going to JW World News next, and then around 9:30, 9:45, Awakening After the Watchtower with our good friend. Well, he's down in Tennessee, down in Barbara's neck of the woods, out of Nashville. So he'll be coming on tonight as well. That's Eric, former Jehovah's Witness. So let me get over to the other studio and go to JW World News, but don't anyone go anywhere. We've got great programming still coming up tonight. Thank you. This stream will end.